So we're going to go over the basic initial setup of your economy gravity filler when you were to receive it. So after you view our beginning initial setup video, that should have all of your conveyor, your machine, and your any other accessories leveled out and in place. Once you've got past that video and you get to the initial setup of your specific filler, you're going to want to check a couple of things on your gravity filler. So this one has a couple of options on it. This is our basic light duty economy indexing. This will be our economy drip tray, fill bar mounted drip tray. And this is going to be your count eye. Back here will be the product supply valve. And these are fill heads 1, fill heads 2. These are going to be your metering valves here and here. This will be your, on this machine, which is running left to right, this shorter cylinder is going to be your entry pin. The longer cylinder will be your exit pin. So what you're going to want to do is after you got everything leveled out and in place, you're going to want to first start with setting all of your railing from the conveyor so that your bottles will slide nicely down through the conveyance and through your filler. Then you're going to set your entry and your exit pins. So this machine is a 2-head machine, but with the small containers, we're having to fill every other container, which sometimes will happen. So in a standard situation, you would run your exit gate. I always like to keep things centered on the machine. So I would set my exit gate to stop my set of containers in here. So you're always going to index out the same number of containers as you have number of fill heads. So this one being a 2-head machine, we're always going to index 2, whether we're filling every other or if we're filling the individuals. So I would set my exit pin. I'm going to have 2 containers in between, and then I'm going to put my entry pin, which this pin here is only going to go into the gap in between the 2 containers, which I also explain a little bit better on my ASU video. The exit pin is going to go at least halfway across, so it's a firm stop. Then I'm going to come back to my container count sensor. Here we're running a drip tray above the assembly, so our count sensor needs to go back behind that most of the time so it doesn't read the drip tray when it's activating. This should just read on the neck of the container, generally the best location because you have a nice good gap between each container, and the threaded portion of the bottle is often going to be the densest, so it gives you the best success for a consistent read. So once I have all of that set up, I'm going to, in this case, because I have the optional drip tray, adjust my drip tray height. Once I adjust my drip tray height, so I'm above my containers, which I adjust by loosening these bolts on this 80-20 and sliding this vertically, or loosening these bolts and sliding it front to back. Once I get that height set just above my container, then I'm going to bring my fill heads and I'm going to move them where I need them. In a traditional setting, I would have my one fill head filling this container, and I'd have my second fill head filling the container right next to it. This situation, my containers are too small, so I have to spread it out to an every other. So I'm going to fill the container that's up against my exit pin, and then I'm going to skip 2, and then I'm going to fill that container here. So that way, when these containers index in, this bottle is getting filled prior to my entry gate. This bottle is getting filled in between my gates. So when these 2 move in, this container will already be filled. This one's being filled. So the first cycle on an every other, I'm going to end up having to remove this bottle because it will be empty. But after that, every other cycle, both will be full. So once I have that set, I may have to adjust my overall height in order to get the correct gap between my fill heads and my containers and to allow my drip tray to actuate. So I would use the manual jack in the rear. The handle's down below here. That'll adjust the overall height. If I needed to adjust these gates left to right, As you can see down here, there are 2 bolts coming out of my 80/20, so I'll loosen those nuts, and that'll allow me vertical adjustment and side-to-side adjustment. If I want to adjust just up top here, I can loosen the nut on the front of my air cylinders, and that'll allow me some range of vertical adjustment for each of those, usually just to get around the actual side rail. If I need to adjust how quickly the air cylinder is moving in and out, there are these threaded knobs on the airlines. So those are a meter out control knob. So what that means is when my piston comes forward and my rod is coming out of the end, if that's coming out too fast, I need to adjust this front clockwise, and that'll cause it to come out slower. Counterclockwise will come out faster. If I need to slow down the speed of this is coming out and releasing away from covering my conveyor, then I would adjust on the back, and it's the same. Clockwise is going to make it come slower. Counterclockwise make it come out faster. Now, once I start my fill cycle on here, when the product is coming into my container, which I would find out when I'm running my ASU, which I have in another video with an in-depth description with the control system. If the product is coming out too quickly and just flowing out all over the place, or if it's too foamy, so I have to slow it down, I can adjust this metering valve here. So the further that I rotate this to being horizontal, the slower the product will come out. The further I have it to being straight up and down, the faster the product will come out. I also have the ability to change the tips. So each machine comes with 3 different size tips. So if you need to change these out, you can have a 1/4 inch, a 3/8, or a 1/2 inch tip. They just pop off the end, new one pops on. So the smallest tip, the 1/4 inch, if you have water thin products, is going to be the best for surface tension. And that will allow you to not drip so badly at the end of a fill. It'll actually hold just a little bubble in the end, and that will create a better filled product for you without dripping all over your containers. But it will also slow down your rate. So if you're running a larger container, you may want to upsize your tip. But keep in mind, if it is water thin, your product may need to drain this entire tip before your containers are able to leave. So you might end up having to adjust some delay to allow that to happen.